Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And this is going to be a video talking about the Diablo series and Diablo 4 and how big of a game I expect it to be if all goes normal. I mean, obviously, if the game wildly overperforms and is the best thing ever, then that'll change things. Or if the game ends up being terrible and it crashes and burns, that would affect things. But if things go just kind of like normal and average and based on what we expect, where is Diablo 4 going to rank on the all-time best-selling games, and how big do I expect it to be in terms of millions of players is what I'm going to talk about in this video. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so I am still having fun playing Diablo 3 Season 28. Got a few more videos I think I want to do on that before we move into the craziness happening this weekend, which, by the way, there is going to be a closed beta for those who have early access purchased the game. You are, like, if you pre-ordered Diablo 4, you're going to be able to play the beta this weekend. I'll be a part of that beta and covering it here on the channel. And then also, the weekend after that, they're going to be doing a more open beta where you can dive in and try all of the classes and try all of the game, and I'll be one of the featured streamers for that second weekend. So I'm very appreciative of that opportunity, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun diving into Diablo 4 as we move forward here. But for the context of this video, so, best-selling games of all time. Yeah, obviously, you've got your things like Minecraft. Like, GTA 5 is insanely huge. I would have never thought this was the #2 game on this list. You know, the other things make sense, like Tetris and Wii Sports, just so generally mainstream. And like PUBG, obviously, Super Mario Brothers. I'm surprised Red Dead Redemption is this high. I mean, it was a decent game. I did play it, but I'm surprised it's way up there. But in terms of Diablo 3 and where Diablo 3 ranks, it is right here. They don't have these numbered for some reason. They really should. But it looks like Diablo 3 is about, I don't know, 20th or so. Because you've got like, it doesn't let me, okay, you've got like 5, and then like 10, 15, yeah, maybe like 18, 19th, something like that for Diablo 3 and Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, obviously, which is a pretty solid performance. I feel like a lot of the Diablo community, they view Diablo 3 as like the worst game in the franchise, but it actually did really well in terms of maintaining relevancy with the seasons and in terms of copies sold. It was a pretty hyped up release that had decent staying power throughout the years, and it became a pretty solid game with, you know, Reaper of Souls and some of the seasonal mechanics, and then trying wild things recently. The seasons are usually pretty hype for a month or so before they kind of slowly die off. But anyway, a top 20 performance for Diablo 3, that's pretty successful, and we're up over 30 million sales on Diablo 3. So do I expect Diablo 4 to surpass that? You know, it's I kind of do, because like I think Diablo 4 is gonna be, I think it's gonna be bigger than like Borderlands 2 and some of these other games. I feel like there's really no reason that 12 years later or whatever, Diablo 4 can't surpass what Diablo 3 did. And Diablo 3 had a horrible release. Like, this number could have probably been like 34, 35 million, or it could have been 15, 20% higher. You know, you really got to capitalize on the first 90 days when you release a game, because that's when everyone's dying in and trying your game, and all of the most famous content creators are playing your game and talking to their audiences, which back then, Diablo 3 had a horrible release. No one could play. The famous Error 37, the auction house shenanigans, which made it pay to win. There was no seasons, so just tons of things working against Diablo 3, and it still ended up a top 20 game of all time in terms of sales. So if that stuff hadn't happened, I think it could have been up here around like Mario Kart, around like 34, 35 million. If it had a better release, it could have been all the way up here. But for Diablo 4, I don't really see it beating things like Super Mario Brothers, GTA 5, Minecraft. I don't see Diablo 4 getting up into here, but I could realistically see even Terraria is pretty like gamer cult classic mainstream. Um, I would guess that Diablo 4 probably settles in somewhere around like The Witcher 3 and this like 40 million mark. So I can see it being in this. I can't highlight. I have to highlight everything. I can't just highlight starting like right here. Okay, good. I kind of can if but I have to start past this. So okay, I expect Diablo 4 to kind of be in this window right here. So in between like the 30 and 40 million tier, ending up in about maybe that like top 12 to top 16 games of all time, and settle in here around 30 to 40 million sales worldwide, because they should have some things working in their favor compared to Diablo 3. I believe it's more cross-platform sooner than Diablo 3 was. Diablo 3 was like a PC exclusive thing, if I remember right. It's been so many years, but I think you're going to have a little bit more multi-platform action for Diablo 4 right out the gate compared to what Diablo 3 was. And there's also no pay-to-win mechanic out the gate. Diablo 3 had the auction house. People were spending thousands of dollars for characters and all of that. And then also Diablo 3 did not have seasons for a long time after release. So you had a large percentage of the player base that got bored and kind of quit and moved on to other things. And that really slowed down the momentum of the word of mouth advertising and people getting their friends to play with them and stuff like that. So Diablo 4 has confirmed that seasons will be very, very soon after release, within the first few months, I think. I think they're literally calling the release of Diablo 4 preseason. So they are really making sure to prioritize to not make that mistake again, which is smart on their part. You don't want to take 2 years to have your first season, because in a game like Diablo, for whatever reason, the ladder resets on Diablo 2 and the new seasons in Diablo 3, they just tend to be the most hyped up part of the game for internet traffic and YouTube viewership and the community really diving in and coming back to playing the game. So they've got to get that right. They have properly realized that, and they are going to be having Diablo 4 seasons pretty quickly right out the gate. And they've also confirmed there will be no pay to win. So it's not going to be like Diablo 3, where you basically farming was worthless in Diablo 3. You were better off to spend $1 than to play for 30 hours, because you could spend $1 and at least buy some good stuff. You'd play for 30 hours and get like one legendary and it would be trash. So ideally they'll have it in Diablo 4 where you can trade, but it's not gonna destroy the market by bots flooding everything. That'll be a different video and a different discussion. We'll talk about how Diablo 4 is going to implement trading, and is it going to be a bad thing or a good thing, because it's really hard to get that right, and it warrants a dedicated discussion for sure. I was around in the early days of Diablo 3. I remember the auction house. I remember how terrible the economy was and how they basically had to emergency pull the plug, change everything, rip the auction house down, completely change how loot worked and all that. So hopefully something like that doesn't happen with Diablo 4. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting rest of the year for sure. It's not all the time that we get a big banger, massive release like Diablo 4 coming out. Honestly, it's like every 10 years at this point. It's like a once in a generation kind of thing. Diablo 3 was like 2012, and now it's 2023, and we're getting Diablo 4 finally with the betas these next couple weekends, and then the full release on June 6th later this year, here in a few months. So that will do it for me on this one. Remember to subscribe if you enjoy daily Diablo content, and let me know down below where you agree and disagree. Do you think Diablo 4 is going to beat Diablo 3 like I'm predicting? I predict it to be somewhere, I predict it to settle in here around the 35 million mark, somewhere in between this like top 10 and top 20 tier, somewhere in there, and probably surpass its predecessor in Diablo 3. So let me know if you agree or disagree with me, and I will see you soon in all the Diablo 4 content that we're going to be covering as a team with my friends and our website and streaming it and all that. It's going to be an exciting time. So I will see you soon in all of that. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.